How's it going, everybody? It's Mystical here, and welcome to part 2 for the NASCAR 2003 mod creation tutorial. In the first episode, I went over or what a mod is, how to set up a folder structure like this, basically, getting the template ready and all that. So in the second video, I said I'd be going over the modeling, and that's what we're going to do today. I've tried recording this a couple times, but it always ends up being too long or uh, I'd feel too confusing, so I found the best way is show some of the process and then speed it up by some already pre-saved files that I made. Um, so we'll basically start off where we left off from the last episode, which was creating the template, which we can't click on it because we have the um, turning off visibility or clicking on it basically. And what we want to do is we want to create a new collection. And this is where we'll be able to create our meshes so we can actually select them, because if you put them in the same thing, it will um, not be able to be selected because we're just using this as a guide. But before I go into that, I'm actually going to turn that off. Make sure I'm clicked on here. Just going to create a cube. I am using Blender 2.83. You can use whatever 3D modeling program you want, or if you're already proficient in 3D modeling and have your own program, whether that's 3ds Max, Maya, or maybe a different version of Blender or another 3D tool, that's totally fine. You can totally skip this video pretty much. This is going over for people who are not familiar with 3D or want to know how to get their 3D models basically ready for importing into 3ds to do the whole NASCAR 2003 mod part. And kind of what it looks like to create a mod from scratch. So that's just the preface for that. There are some tools that I am going to be using that you may not notice right away or whatever. This isn't a how to use Blender, but very, very quick crash course. There's object mode, which is selecting the whole object. And there's edit mode, which you can select the edges. Um, I should go back there. The faces and the vertex points, or, more than one of them. That's how you can manipulate the model. All of that can be found up here. So if you go into edit, you can select the modes up here too. If my Blender looks a little different than yours, it's because I have a couple add-ons like a pie tool. You can find all these add-ons, um, online if you want Blender add-ons. I'm also using a couple extra things like make line, which I believe that's built into Blender. You just have to go into preferences. Again, you can go up to edit preferences and then add-ons. If you search line, you mesh snap utilities. There's another one I use, which is the merge tool. This one you might have to find online. I like it. There are other merge options within Blender built in, but and this is a free script you can easily install. I like this one because you'll see me doing this a lot when I'm in vertex mode. A merge tool operator. It's similar to a merge option that I'm familiar with in Maya. That's why I like doing it. So I like using that tool. Again, you don't need that. There are other ways to merge vertices, but that's how I do it. A lot of the other common stuff is like extruding, which you can find extruding, bevel, edge loop, which I'll be using a lot over here. So all the major manipulation tools are already here. The line tool is the one I turned on, and then there's also the merge tool. Also, if you're having trouble finding something, you can always hit F3 and search for it. So, for example, merge. I've got different options, like bevel. You can find things. So you can find stuff there as well as here. I think that's the crash course. Again, if you're not familiar with Blender but you want to use it, there's tons of great tutorials how to use 2.8 that can go over all the viewport and editing. I really don't want to go into that in this video because it's not really the point. So we're going to get started on the actual model, or the mod I should say. And basically it's not a step-by-step. Your mod may look different, or you might be making something different. This is just to show you kind of a way of how it's done. So let's get started with all that. All right, to begin, I already have a cube here. But basically, before I actually am going, I mean, there's tons of ways to do it, especially if you're making a model based off a real car. You could insert orthographic plane views, so you can have like the side view of a car, the top, the front, and then you can model and follow that as a guide. What I'm doing is just making something up, which is actually how I did the ICR mod too. The only thing I used at the very beginning was to get the bounding box size, because for those who are not familiar, um, NASCAR 2003 only has one bounding box size coded, unfortunately. I don't believe anyone knows how to change that bounding box size, so I'm just using the SNG Cup mod for the bounding box size because they're basically all going to be the same, so if you get it just close enough. So I'm literally just starting with a cube, or a rectangle I guess at this point, just to get the general size of what our mod can be size-wise from the top, front, side view, all that stuff. Um, that's basically all we need, so we can actually turn off that. Now, actually I'll turn it back on and just show one of the trickiest parts, especially when you're starting. All cars usually have tires and a body, and usually those tires have, if you're not doing open wheel at least, will have some sort of frame around them. This is usually the toughest part, and I like to get that out of the way. Of course, with modeling, there's a million ways to do this stuff. This is just how I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to turn off the cube, and I'm going to, within the same collection so I can still edit stuff, of course, I'm going to create a cylinder, and I'm going to go to 20 vertices. Don't need too much detail, because even for a mod for NASCAR 2003, going too high detail is too much for the game, even if you separate stuff. So I'm going to turn this sideways. Then, let's see. I'm going to separate this. So basically we're cutting it down the middle. I'm using X-ray mode, which is actually can be found right up here. Just have a hotkey. Hotkeys are really great. Again, if I'm doing things too fast, you can always slow the video down or rewatch it, or watch a tutorial for Blender so you know what all these tools are. So now I'm just extruding down. Again, just using a hotkey to use the fill tool, but there you can go up in the menus to fill. I'm just going to, oops, I have curves too much so it can't select it. Just using Control Select. I'm using the shrink expand tool. This way it uniformly follows the normals. We're going to do this one more time. Okay. It's cool. And let's see, how do I want to achieve this? I'm going to delete this stuff. Don't need any of the back. And again, don't feel overwhelmed or discouraged if I'm going super fast and like I can't seem to do this and I don't understand how. I've been modeling for years and years and went to college for it. Again, you might think that I'm doing a terrible job right now too, so who knows, but again, I'm not trying to make mod of the year here. This is literally for a tutorial, just to show you guys what you can do. Basically, I'm now just flattening these so all the vertices are together. And then I'm going to use, let's see here, remove double vertices. Again, I'm using a pie tool, but this is a built-in feature. You'll see here. Oh, it didn't remove. I think it's because these are not close enough to each other. Whoops. Let's try that again. There we go, 2 vertices. So now I've made sure that there's no overlapping geometry. A lot of novices make the mistake of, oh, well, just put 2 points in together, and that actually doesn't connect them. You actually have to merge it. So now we've created a wheel well already. Just like that. Done. Now I'm going to see, look, yeah, there we go. Now I can select around. Now instead of using shrink and expand, I'm just gonna push this out. And next I want to select from here to here. Just get that so they're not touching each other. Just going to create this as a square now. So there's tons of ways to do it. Again, some people like to extrude from faces and build the whole thing, especially if you're following a image. That's one way to do it. It takes longer, but then again, you do get much more accuracy sooner, whereas me, I'm kind of molding with clay, and then later on I worry about it. Okay, so next we have this, and you can tell it's way too big, not a problem. Oh, I want to uniform shrink. Ah, there we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to split this. Another thing about 3D modeling that a lot of people seem to not do when they're new is taking shortcuts when you can. So I'm going to move this over so you can see. I go to modifier, and I'm going to use the mirror, X and Y. So now I've mirrored the front and the back and the side, and I didn't apply it. It's what you usually do. Whoops, that preference is still open. You usually would apply it, but I'm leaving the modifier active. That way it's still going to manipulate. So you can see I move 1 point all 4 sides, and it's doing that because it's meeting right in the middle. And actually, you can see if I connect, I'll have to merge that later. I'm just going to do that so I can actually make sure it's not overlapping. Again, the big thing is blocking out. That's all I'm doing right now. That's good enough for size. Just going to actually do X-ray so I make sure I've got it all selected. Just gonna zoom that there. All right. Now I'm just making a hole. So then I delete that face. Yeah, I'm gonna delete, actually, just do that. Then I'll delete this face. Also, oops, let's go back to this. So there we go. Got the pieces that we want. Okay. And this wheel will just isolating quickly. Just gonna move that in. Also, I forgot to mention I am using a free add-on called Machine Tools, which it does this kind of cool isolate. I believe Blender has a built-in one, but I like this one because then I can move wherever I want in the isolation. And then when I unisolate, it goes right back to the original. Super helpful. Okay. Anyways. Now, before I start if you probably might be able to tell what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect this piece to this piece. Before I do that, I need to have the same amount of lines, obviously, but I don't need this many lines on the main body because you only need detail where you need it. And so to fix that, we're going to merge all this crap because it just makes it easier to connect too. We can always go back and add more lines later if we need, but you don't have to do that when you're trying to just block out. So, we need one line there, we need one there. I think that's all we needed. Yeah. Okay. And again, in between this, you'll want to save. I'm not saving because I already have a file created, so I'm not gonna keep this because I already have something farther along. But I'm just showing quickly how this is done. So I'm gonna select both, grouping, join, boom, they're together. I'm now selecting these faces. Whoops. Actually, let's just do it faster this way. Let's just go to X-ray mode and select the vertices. Again, there's no wrong way to model as long as the topology is correct. And if you don't know what topology means, that basically means the geometry on the mesh has proper topology, which is quads or tris. N-gons are bad, which is five-sided. Most game engines and deformation and stuff doesn't work well when it's in N-gons. You usually want to keep it in quads, especially for certain sections, and UV unwrapping, I found, at least personally, it's a lot easier when it's in quads, and then especially when you do damage, having it in quads in certain areas works a lot better. Okay, here comes the fun and easy part. Again, we're just going to merge. Oh, crap. I know what went wrong there. I actually connected to one of the back because I'm in X-ray mode, because it could see that vertice back. Now let's do it again. See, even I make mistakes still, but then again, I am trying to talk while recording and doing a tutorial, which I usually don't. Okay, and I forgot, obviously, to put one more edge here. And again, some of this will be determined on what type of car you're trying to make or model or truck or whatever. It may be different. So you're going to have to learn how to model your way around those type of things. That's going to be up to you. All right. So now we have to connect these bottom pieces. So I'm going to hit extrude. I'm going to push out. Then go to vertices. And we're just going to connect. We're going to extrude again. Keep hitting the wrong expansion. There we go. Just have to get it away from the other vertices so we're not merging the wrong thing. All right, I'm going to close this up. Just move it. Selecting the whole edge loop so it stays together. Stays together better. I'm going to add one here, one here. Just going to slide, click and slide, click and slide. You can see all I'm doing here is I'm just making the same amount of lines, basically. And because I want to keep this correct, I'm going to move these so they'll move instead of the other one, because it doesn't really matter. All we're trying to do is close up these holes. Okay, now we just have that. I'm just using a hotkey to fill a hole. Now all we have is this hole. And again, I'm just using a hotkey because why not? It's much easier to do that, and then I just go in here, delete. There's deleting, which completely deletes geometry, or dissolving will delete what's in between. We want to dissolve, because there you go. Whoops. Let me get out of that. Solve. So this is currently an N-gon because it's more than 5 sides. That's bad. We're going to now connect our edge loops like that. And here, because this part won't ever really take damage, whoops, I think I know what happened. I have two faces. Let's see here. Ah, yes. So you can see it didn't fully connect it properly, so I'm actually gonna delete this and try again. Before I do that, I should actually straighten this out. I believe there's a hotkey also. I think if you press 0 and then another one, you can straighten per axis. I just forgot how to do it. I don't really use it very often, so I don't remember. See if I can get away with this again. Oh crap, it's filling to the other part. Alright, never mind. We'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Go to vertice. This up, move this up. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here, select the bottom ones. Whoops. Actually, yeah, we can just do all of it. I'm going to merge its center. There we go. Let's see if I can get away with filling in the hole now. No, it's not gonna. It's doing it the wrong way. Nope. Okay, whatever. Here's what we're gonna do. Now it looks like crap, but again, we're just gonna go here. Okay. Select all of those. Merge it center, boom. Move this down. Again, there's tons of ways to achieve this type of geometry, but there you go. Now we've done, I don't know how long. How long is this? 17 minutes into the tutorial, we've done probably one of the harder parts of the mesh, at least on a car, when people are starting out. And there you go. And then let's go back to here. Then we mirror it. Obviously, you have to move your origin back to the center. So to show that, I'm not going to save this. And when you do save, don't save over your template. You probably just want to make new save files. So there you go. You can see basically what I just did there. I did something more simple here. Probably actually not as great in this one because I was doing it a little faster. But you can see all it was is I did one part and then I duplicated. And if I bring the back, you can see the size is all screwed up because I wasn't paying attention to that. But it's not a problem because later on, I believe here's where I resize it. Yeah, here I resize it. So I just went in and I just moved everything so it went. And then I also created a cylinder for a wheel that's about the size just to get it in there. So that's all I've done in this step, you know. And you can see here, I actually added more vertices in the previous one. There's all sorts of different methods and stuff, but basically just edge loops connecting. So that's all there is with it there. Whoops. And like a 3. So again, here I just got the wheel wells a bit more perfect and I sized it up. So nothing too bad or too hard there. I'm just moving the faces. And 4 is where I started moving pieces, the shape, around basically. It's literally just, you know, selecting pieces that go up and down. For the nose, all I did was squish in these edges, you know, that used to be a straight block. I just kind of pushed them in, started curving things. That's all I was doing here, you know, just getting a shape. Very crappy car right there. Then by here, I've got a better looking version. I started to push the same amount of vertices as before. I pushed them around. And then I realized because when I did this wheel well, I didn't actually, because I had to resize it a bit, I accidentally had the front to the back of the wheel well a little different, so that's why the edge loops didn't line up perfectly, but I then fixed that here, where I have kind of just this car. And to just show, here's the Gen 6 SNG mod. So it's still within the bounding box. Slightly different, obviously, but as long as you're just close enough, you won't have too much weird clipping when you get in collisions and stuff. And you can always get away with the height a bit more and the length and all that, but this is what I went with. Oh yeah, and the wheel wells, that's why I did those extra edge loops, because you can see I can push these out and keep the geometry around it. So I just did that. And then here I kind of flared that stuff out. And it really just comes down to basically pushing vertices and stuff around. If I wanted to have a car that has a nose like this, you know, there you go. You can see how much it changes the look of the car just that quick, you know. If you wanted to add a spoiler, or a spoiler, a splitter, obviously because I have it mirrored, it's doing this weird thing, but it's like, there you go. Obviously you have to remember to merge things and all that, but that's how you do things like that, you know. Because this is a valence slash splitter, or you can make it a separate mesh. So that's how you kind of achieve those type of things. And then here I just moved up to make the curve of a window in the roof. And then the bottom part, it's just been cleaned up so it lines up better. And basically all that. So then we have the outer shell. So the next part would be blowing out the windows, and then we need to do a bit of interior work because then you could see through and there wouldn't be anything there, so we have to do that. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright, so let's finish off this basic model for our basic mod, basically. It's a lot of basically in there. So the next thing you're going to want to do probably is make some windows. So we'll do the side ones first. What I'm going to actually do is I'm going to dissolve these edges. Start over so I'm not selecting the wrong thing. Whoops, I deleted. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I can then extrude inward. Like so, and then I can do the rear. And again, it's however you want it to be. We're just doing something basic. You can make your window design or whatever you're following off of, obviously, however you like. For the sake of this, I'm just going to keep it, but you can obviously get detailed and make different angles and stuff like that. I'm just going to do it like this. Okay. And we need to do the front and the back, but because we're in mirror mode, it won't work exactly. So I'm just going to go back the modifier I've had on all along. I'm going to hit apply. What that does is now it's just one whole mesh, and these middle pieces are no longer separated. This is like the one instance where you don't need a mirror mode. Oops. I want to extrude. So you can see now we kind of have a bit of a window frame. And I believe if you need to move this down, you can go to Edge Slide, and then you can see it follows the normals. So I'm just going to make that a bit thicker. And this is kind of like how you can make a banner too if you want to, a top section. Again, I could spend, when I made my ICR mod, I spent, at least a week. I know that's probably short for some people, or maybe it's long for you, but I spent a long time going over every single, and you can see how it follows the edge. That's why I like Blender so much. There's so many cool things. I spent a long time going every single little vertex, looking at every angle, making the fantasy type of stock car I always wanted. But because we're doing a tutorial, I'm going very basic, very raw. It's not going to look perfect, um, but just for, oops, just for this sake, I don't know why that bump is so high. I'm just gonna, there we go. I'm just going to do very, very quick. But you can also, obviously, when you're making your car, you'll be spending way more time going over the details. If that's what you're trying to accomplish, of course. Oh wait, there we go. That's good enough there. I actually don't have a hotkey for edge slide because I don't use it very often, but just trying to move that up a bit. I feel like I can make the rear window a little higher. Again, I don't want to waste too much time on this stuff because these tutorials are going to get so long. You get the concept and the idea of what I'm trying to do here. And again, another thing I guess I should mention is every single vertice should have a purpose in terms of giving detail to the mesh. Like the only reason you would technically want to collapse these, but because I want to have some detail on the side here, because then when I do damage, you can move things in and out. Obviously, I'm not going to do it like this, but you can see if I didn't, then I wouldn't have much to do. It's really dependent how complex or simple you want your mesh to be, but there you go. Windows, basic windows. Just kind of looking back here, making sure I don't have any weirdness. Yeah, it's good enough for the tutorial. Okay, so the next thing to do is anything that's going to have any transparency has to be a separate mesh from the paint scheme body, because the paint scheme can't have any type of transparency present. So we have to make this separate. So I'm going to duplicate. I'm gonna, let's see, actually, I'm gonna do that. And then I'm gonna go separate. Let's see here. There you go. We now have separated the windows. I'm going to just reconnect the windows as one mesh. I'm going to hide that quickly. Now because I duplicated, I still have all these here. So I'm just going to quickly by control selecting, shift selecting. Control I can select in a row, or shift I can do in a group. And I'm going to delete faces. There you go. Okay, now we have that. Then we put the windows back on. It's a separate mesh. And you can even see now, because it's a separate mesh, it has a hard edge. You're probably looking at this and like, man, this looks really low res, and that's because we'll smooth it later. And I will do that in a later tutorial in the preparation part. That'll be in a different episode. how you can create the hard and smooth edges by normal smoothing, but we're keeping it shaded because I want to be able to see the edges, but that's how you can achieve that type of effect. Okay, now we have at least the bare minimum for what you would see on the exterior. You'd have some transparent windows possibly. I mean, you could even go non-transparent and just have a block, you know. But I want to do at least enough detail in the mod, so when you make yours, you know how to achieve the same thing. And then we have the car body. Now we need to do the interior because say you can see through this window, this is basically what you're going to see because the faces are only one side. So what we have to do is we need to duplicate our car body. I'm going to hide the duplication so we just have one. And we need to make a bottom section for both the exterior and the interior. And then we need to do the front type of protection and then the rear. So depending on wherever you're looking, you won't see through the car like this. Because if you don't, then your mesh will just have a giant hole in it like that. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make the bottom chassis part. I'm just going to select these all real quick. Turn off the wheels, which are just cylinders at this point. Whoops. Also what I like about Blender is if I accidentally select something, I can hit Control Z and it'll go back to the last selection too. This is something that Maya did, and that's why I went to Blender 2.8 because it had so many interface and features that are just so close to how Maya did things, and I really like modeling in Maya. 3ds Max is obviously very good at modeling too. I just personally wanted to, I just liked the way Maya did it, and I set up Blender slash the way Blender works also did it similar. Okay, duplicating. So it's a separate, and you can always tell it's separate when you move it. It still technically counts as the same mesh, so then we're going to separate. So I'm just going to turn that off. So now you can see we have the bottom, technically. Okay, now, actually wait, let me go back a couple steps. I actually forgot I should do this. Let me turn those off. I want the rear wheel well to also be part of this bottom frame. I forgot. Again, you could just model the interior, but I find just duplicating your exterior and then flipping a lot of it to the inside is way faster. And trust me, I'm trying to go as fast as I can in this tutorial, which you can't really skip modeling fast, but I've been doing this for such a long time, just modeling in general tips and tricks. And I could include the front too, but with the way I'm doing the stock car, it's going to be, see, the shell will go out like the most of them because the engine will be there. So, whoops. Okay, now I'll duplicate. Oops. Okay, so now we have a bottom frame. Again, I just have hotkeys for these, but these are all built in. I'm just separating by face. Turn that off. So now we have the bottom shell. Okay, let's go back to this. All right. And just making sure that I duplicate. Okay, yeah. Just want to make sure I have a duplication before I start messing with this stuff. Actually, I want to Windows. That's oh, I think I accidentally there undo. Or did I? All right, let me just get back that piece. Okay, there we go. I just had to add a Control Z and duplicate again. I had the selection still present. Just wanted to make sure I handle the pieces. What I was going to do is I was going to hit Control Save and Increment Save. This is a built-in, or not a built-in, this is a add-on Machine Tools, but you can also go up here and save, but I like Increment Save because it adds the number to the end of your file just automatically. I'm just over here in my collection and I just have it selected, but you can also go to the properties, which there's a little window up here. I guess I should show that. You can hit shift and drag, and then up here, I'm gonna go back to properties. There we go. I accidentally closed it. I use multi-monitor, so I'm not used to having to slide everything over, and so then I accidentally close it. Anyways, what I was going to show was up here you can rename just the properties, because then in here you can actually tell what the heck you're looking at. Just so I don't lose this again, but I'm going to turn this off. Okay. So now we have the bottom for the exterior. Now we need to do the interior. There's three pieces that I like to do. There's the outer shell that kind of runs, oops, don't want to slide that, that runs horizontally around or whatever. And then we have the bottom inner piece that goes here and goes up to block the engine all the way to the back. And then there's kind of like a shield thing that protects the fuel cell to the wheel wells, basically. So we're going to do all that. And this part can be a little tricky. It's a bit of a mind twist, if you will, how to achieve it all. So I'm actually going to duplicate again this, just so I have this piece. I'm going to now delete, for this instance, I'm going to make the shell, what I like to call it, the inner shell. This is so when you look through the windows, you can't see the see nothing. You don't see through the car, basically. So this is how I do it. Get rid of the front wheel well. And I could, technically, if I really wanted to go super fast, I could go back to mirroring, but I'm already started selecting. Too late. I could have split the model down the middle, mirrored, and then selected and deleted all this, but whatever. Just gonna get through this real quick. Okay, one more wheel well. All right, this is all selected, just gonna delete. So now, we have this, but now we have to invert it. So with X-ray mode, so everything's selected, going to go up to mesh normals, recalculate inside. What this does, now you can see it's the interior. So now if you're looking inside, you've got something like this. Yay! So now I'm going to turn on our, not that one, our exterior. So now you can see you've got an interior and an exterior because you can't have double-sided faces. So you have to have a different mesh for the interior. Now, personally, a lot of mods I've noticed, the interior and the exterior are literally one-to-one in terms of their size. I kind of don't like that because then in render scenes, if you may notice, sometimes they do the Z fighting. I like to just avoid that. So what I do So I go to the size, and we have the scale here. What I like to do is there's a feature in here where I can reset all the transforms and the scale and everything. So I'm just going to do that, and now it one-to-ones everything. It's a built-in Blender feature. I believe it's resetting the transform or whatever. You can look that up this way. I'm going to do 0.99, ever so slight size reduction on the height, width, and the length. This way, it's not clipping. And actually, let's do 0.999. Make it even like, whoops, don't want to do that. Let me copy. There we go. 0.999. So it's like, I don't even think you can see it in the video, but it's ever ever so smaller. One thing I do want to show is if I like to edit in viewport shading, but if you go to this viewport shading, I forget what it's called, material preview, you can have materials, textures basically. So I'm going to select the, make sure I have the right one. Oh, that's one reason I also don't like editing in material view, because it doesn't show which faces are double-sided. Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna click that shell. I'm gonna go material. I'm gonna go add new material. I'm just gonna change the base color to red. It can be whatever you want. This is just a cool trick. Now I'm gonna go here, turn on there, and then you can see, look at that. The red is not seeping through the white, because if I'm gonna just copy this value. If I go to 1, this is what's called Z fighting. Basically, it's they're fighting amongst each other. If I see how it's Z fights, that's why you want, or why I like to have it just slightly smaller. It's just much easier, cleaner, all that. So that gets us the sides, the roof, the front, and the rear shell all done. So now when you have your windows, which we don't have these transparent in the render view, but when you have your windows, which I don't even think I can make them semi-transparent without a material. Yeah, I don't want to deal with that, but I could make it semi-transparent to show this. But anyways, just picture the windows are here. If we didn't have this guy here, you wouldn't actually be seeing this. You'd be seeing this, which is not good. And again, I'm going to click the inner one. I'm going to go to the name and call it shell. You can name it however you want. I'm going to also click this one and call it body. Okay. So let me go to the bottom as well, which, because I haven't deleted the bottom, you can't see it quite yet, so actually I need to do this. I'm going to turn off the inner shell. I'm going to duplicate again. I'm going to hide the backup one, so we have a backup of the original. Get out of X-ray mode. And once more, just going to get rid of all of this again. This is just the trick I like to do, is why redo everything when you can use the same mesh in different ways to create another thing, you know? And again, your car mod may be different. You may be making a truck or a go-kart or an Indy car. You're going to have to find your own, you'll have your own challenges. Personally, I mean, if I ever do an open wheel, I actually find those a bit easier because they don't have nearly as large of a cockpit interior. You know, you've got like a little shell. But if you're doing something big like a stock car has a huge interior, it's a huge challenge. Um, that's why I'm trying to do a stock car because this is probably what most people want to make, especially I'm doing this tutorial for people who don't know how to do mods, but they really want a Gen 7 mod for NASCAR 2003 in 2022, so this is so you can learn how to make a mod and maybe be one of the people to make one. So I'm just gonna clear this out. What are we at the time right now? I have a I've stopped and started the video a couple times, so I think we're still under an hour. Not too bad for how much I've gone. Of course, I kind of sped it up a little by some of the save files at the start, but then again, that was still a basic block, and then shaping it out. Something this basic isn't too bad. Okay. Now we have the true outer shell. This is, for the most part, what I did close to my ICR mod, just an outer shell. There's no bottom, there's no insides or anything. This is basically what you would unfold and put on a template. The top, the sides, the front, the back, all that stuff. This is basically your paintable piece. Of course, I don't have like a splitter. I'll probably put a cheap spoiler on the back just for the sake of the mod, just so it looks kind of cool. But again, this is also the exciting part about this. You could have a basic save file, like I kind of have that cube, which I actually may use that in the future, and then you can extrude it and mesh it like a piece of clay all sorts of different ways multiple times to make all sorts of variation of car bodies just from the same starting mesh. That's what a lot of 3D artists do when they make like characters, like spend time making a really good hand model, like fingers and hands, and then reuse that asset over and over again, just pushing and pulling the vertices or sculpted pieces that's in a very basic form. And then you can reuse it to make different variations because the topology built on is good. So, okay, so let me get back to the actual mod. We have the body, we have the bottom. So we have this piece basically here. Oops, didn't want to isolate, I want to do edge. I just want to straighten this out a bit. It's kind of annoying. So we have body, bottom. Then we have the inner shell. So now you can see it's protecting front here because the engine block is going to actually just go here, which let's just do that right now. Again, super complicated or more detailed mods. I would make a more geometric looking shaped engine, and you could put like little axle piece planes on it and stuff so it like connects to the wheels. But again, because we're just doing a tutorial, I'm not going to worry about hyper detail. I'm literally going to put a rectangle in here. Something about there's good enough, because then you can see you texture the sides and you put little axle pieces, and then the bottom, what I like to do, you can either model a full detail thing, or what I just do is have kind of have this extend out, and then you can texture it. So if the car flips, then you can still see like a kind of axle design or something. I'm just gonna move this back a bit, but so there. Now you can't see through here. Whoops, I've got that clipping in. Let's just do this real quick. I'm just gonna move that down. There you go. Got the engine. You're actually never gonna see the rear of this, so I'm just gonna delete it now. Which I'll go into more cleanup later before we prepare the model, but Right now we're still doing basic, whatever you want to call it, basic modeling. Okay, so we've got the bottom shell that protects your wheel well where the wheels are. We have the outer shell. We have the inner shell. So the last thing we need to do, which is actually going to be two pieces, we need to create the interior shell for the bottom and the back and the front that protects the driver from the engine and all that crap, you know. So that's what we need to do next. So for this one, I'm going to turn all of this off again. I'm actually just going to save, increment save. So when I increment save, that's why I like the machine tools add-on. It adds the numerical value, which is great. Okay. Shell. I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to take the duplicated shell and I'm going to call it interior. So now we have interior. Whoops, I accidentally controlled Z too many times. I thought I moved it. Another thing to do, because I could technically, if I completely jack this up, I can just go here, and because my model is perfectly centered, it'll go back. But if you don't keep it centered, you can always clear transform so it resets to 0. That's also a very important thing to do, but you can see I can move it around, zero it out, and it'll go back to where it should. But anyways. Okay, so the only part we need left is basically here, basically. The bottom protecting the front and then the back part. Because we have everything else sealed, basically. So what we need to first do is get rid of all the junk we don't need. So, and I didn't actually show this because I don't use it much, but you have the orthographic views, just like, this is what you would use if you're using image planes. So that's how you do that. Just going into X-ray mode. Just deleting all this crap. We don't need any of the front. We don't need the rear. Just trying to get rid of most of this as fast as I can right now. Trying to think. Yeah, we're just gonna get rid of that. And then we're gonna delete this. Gonna delete this. So now we just have our basic bottom piece right here. So now, actually, here's where we can get lazy again. Delete all of it. I'm just going to the modifiers, mirroring the y-axis. If you're still new to 3D modeling, you can see by axis the colors. It tells you even up here, but I've been doing this so long, you kind of just memorize it. But so now, I'm gonna have to do this because it's gonna select the whole edge loop. I'm just gonna extrude. Now we can get rid of these pieces. They're left over. Just quickly getting through all that, and I'll keep that. Okay. So now we have that. Going to, okay, just making sure X-ray's on. It's missing a couple vertices. I'm just going to flatten this so it's even. Oh, I still had some crap here. It's like, why does that look weird? Okay. And we don't need all this geometry because it's not connecting, because it's still in separate piece, so we're going to dissolve. Sometimes, because I'm not doing a huge cleanup here, but I am just trying to get the shape. So now we kind of got the floorboard where the pedals and all that crap will go. This may actually end up clipping. That's not a problem because we can fix it later. So now we're just gonna actually dissolve that. Kind of make a typical stock car rear. Kind of have the axle, goes like that basically. I'm actually going to delete these two. Yeah, I dissolved so then it followed the path. I don't want that. We'll just deal with that. But you can see now I'm getting that chassis type shape. Just kind of moving out. Sometimes just playing around with the edges and vertices and all that crap gets you the desired look. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's not really important to make a perfect mod here. We're not trying to achieve that. We're just trying to make something that looks relevant to the stock car. Okay, now I'm going to turn on, let's see, the shell. Actually, let's do the body. So you can see here there's a little bit of clipping, which we'll worry about in a bit. I'm just gonna, we'll do this. Let's just get this connected now and get it out of the way. So I'm applying the mirror that I made, so now it's not gonna, whoops, it's not gonna be affected. Okay, I'm just gonna close all these. Whoops. Just flattening by the Y. And then I'm gonna remove double vertices. You should see, whoops, removed how many, so that's good. You could count them all if you wanted, but I'm pretty sure every single one here is now a one. As you can see, I'm only clicking once, I'm not dragging clicking. Because if there were two, then there would be another one there, but it's not, so perfect. So let's go back to the body. Let's put the inner shell on too, just for kicks. But so you can see now we're getting that encasement essentially, and obviously every car will have a different interior design. If you're making like a truck mod, it's gonna have a very different looking one, but because it's much smaller too. But here's actually what we're gonna do. I'm going to add a material to this one. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Let's add a material here, make it yellow. There we go. Super hacks. Now I can see definitively where it's clipping on the exterior, which we don't want. This makes it so much easier when you can do little tricks like this. Turn off X-ray mode because I don't need it. So I'm just going to select these because I know clipping out. Again, another thing I've learned from making mods in any type of game is you can be 100% perfect, but at the same time, especially with like a racing mod, you won't be able to see like, oh man, there's a very, very, very tiny gap. Oops, what did I do there? I think I squeezed it in too much. If you get it close enough, it's good enough. It's basically all that matters. So we just want to get it so it's just right there. Because there's no way from any racing angle you see completely in. You can see here. Still a little much. Just want to make sure I don't see any. I'm actually just going to do it for both sides separately. Because it's not like, oh, it's not 100% symmetrical here. You're never going to actually see that. Actually, I'm also going to slightly raise this because the bottom bed will not be the very, very bottom because there's stuff obviously in between from where the driver is. So I'm actually just going to raise that. Oh, let's not go crazy there. And then we're going to just squeeze this in. I went way too far. It's a very fine line of trying to connect where it goes, but again, trying to just get close enough. And realistically, when you are looking down on the car, you wouldn't actually see these until it flipped, but you want to get it at least clean enough. And I believe there's a tool in Blender where you can snap vertices to a face, but I like doing it manually just because you can use any tools or methods you want. Just going in, being nice and clean here. Making sure we don't have any exterior or any gaps from the interior. What I just did there is I hit a hotkey to F key, or F key for me, which is focus. This is another hotkey I love that's also built into Blender. Basically what it does is it just focuses whatever you have selected. Oh yeah, this is the rear, which we'll worry about that. We're going to shape that in a bit. Let's go back to this stuff. Let's get it in. Again, this is probably way more perfect than we need to be for the tutorial, but I'm just doing it because of the heck of it. I have a real problem with making something sloppy. And a lot of these techniques I'm doing, depending on your 3D tool, may be slightly different, but at a lot of times it does come down to vertice pushing. And this is really, other than when I did some shaping with the car body, there wasn't that much here until we got to this piece. If you've noticed, a lot of the car, I've just been duplicating the same piece and extruding from it or copy pasting. And when we zoom out, you will see this kind of a weird effect. You don't need to be alarmed by that. That's just because of the distance. But the reality is it won't show up that well when we actually have the models. If there's anything too big, I don't want that, so I try and clean it up. Stuff like this you definitely don't want. And what I would do here is, if you notice it's like, oh, there's too much of a gap, I really don't like that, I could add more geometry and blah blah blah. For the sake of this, we're just doing that. Oh yes. Let me clean this up first, then I'll move it. Hopefully what I'm doing here is not completely alien, and it makes somewhat sense. Hopefully when you start to model, you won't be 100% confused. Just moving that because it needs to be way more forward than on the wheel well. And this goes up to here. So we're connecting essentially the front. So we're going to have to play around with it a bit more. So about there. Okay, at this point we're going to need to add some more geometry. There's no way around it. So now I'm going to take these pieces and curve it a bit. Move this in. Same thing here. Okay, move this in. This down a bit. If I wanted to be 100%, you could always use the inner shell that we made and then extrude this out, which I think that's actually how I did it with the ICR mod, and then I connected the middle. But again, different ways to do it. We are not going for 100% perfection because, again, this is just a tutorial, and you won't even really, even when you've got stuff, because if we were going to totally complete the car, you would extrude here a dash, obviously. But we're just kind of going basic. Okay, I'm going to go back to this mode. So we're starting to get it looking good. Turn the bottom on so you can see filling up all the holes. Now the front, what you do is, or what I do is at least, duplicate, just going to slide this way out, separate, now it's its own thing. Let's see, yeah, origin geometry. I just moved the origin on this piece so it's centered again. And actually, I'm gonna it's wrong rotation. There we go. I'm just rotating it the other way. So now it's forward. So now we're getting a protection for the front, essentially. So same process again, basically. So if the front of your car gets blown off and damaged, you won't be seen through here because you need to protect every single angle. Sometimes I don't move the cursor. So we're just putting it down like that. I'm going to remove the body here for a moment. Go back here so I can actually see what I'm doing. Just trying to encase it a bit more. So we'll just do something like that. I kind of have like a bit of a unique body contour, so trying to just fit it to that. So that's good. It's got a little bit of a yellow. Just getting that in. Again, probably another easier way is just create an edge loop and then extrude it down because then it's 100%, but oh well, this is how I'm doing it. So we're practically done here anyways. This is going to be a long episode, but that's how modeling goes. I'm actually impressed with how fast I was able to put this together by how much you have to do, but this piece of crap model is not looking too bad. Okay. There's our engine. I should probably name this. Oh wait, that's not the engine. That's our duplicated thing. I think this is the engine. Yeah. I'm gonna name this engine just so I don't lose it. And now you can see how it probably can take a week or two to really model out everything. You gotta model the engines and the pieces there. You might have to do little axle things here. You've got to do all the, in like a C, roll cage, um, things like that. You know, at the end of the series, I may do an addendum extra videos and I can show how to add in extra things, but we're really just trying to get a core thing here. Okay. The last part we have to do to close everything up is this rear part. This is like the interior, and the only time you'd see this section is if the rear end gets blown off and damaged. So technically, if you know you're not going to have damage ever for your mod, you wouldn't need to do this, or you're making a mod where when things get damaged, you'd never see that section, you don't have to worry about it. But if you do, then you got to cover all your bases. I just hid the outer body there because we only need to connect it for now to the back here. Just extruding. Again, very, very simple. Not trying to go overboard. So select these. I have very little vertices to work with, but also one thing to take in consideration, if you're not going to see sections of the car very often or much, you don't need to freaking model a massive detailed thing. This is good enough, this low poly, especially if you're far away from the car or it's damaged. It's not going to look perfect anyways because it's damaged. So, all right, let me fix this. So you can see the bottom shell, we have this wheel well. Push that out a bit. Okay. Turn the exterior body back on and make sure that these parts are not clipping. So you can see you've got already, these are just the, this is just the core, like protection casing of the car, and you can already see how complicated it gets. Obviously, if you want, you can model the shell, inner shell, and model it with the inner piece, but I find doing all these pieces separate is way easier because, I mean, in real life, everything's separate pieces anyways. There's literally zero reason to be doing, trying to model it all as one piece. Because you can always connect it back later if you want, but you'll find out that we'll actually be separating stuff even more later. Because NASCAR 2003 has poly limits per model piece, so if they go over the limit, we gotta cut it down. So again, I'm just created an extra loop there, because I need just a bit more. And selecting this, just gonna slide it in. I'm just drag selecting because I know it's the only vertice that's there. Just have to do a bit more on this. Bit too perfectionist here, but oh well. No harm, no foul. And I can always, in 3ds Max, even when I import, I can go in and if I see a little bit of clipping, I can always do it after as well, as long as it's not too ginormous. But there you go. We've got all of that done. I am going to do one last thing because no real car has this giant curve from the front. There's usually an indent just for fun because we're nearing the end of this tutorial here real soon. Let's see, I want to turn everything off. Actually, before I do, let's also save. Increment save. Turn off the bottom, the body, engine, shell, and the front interior shield piece, which later on we probably can group these together. Actually, why don't we just do it now? I'm just selecting both, group, join, boom. And when you join, it puts your origin back in the center, which is great. I believe it also zeroes out certain things, but if it doesn't, at least for me, it's Control A to clear transforms, and then boom, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1 scale. That's a nice way to clean up. I recommend doing that to all the models too before we export, but that's for a later episode, which I'll go over that later. Because this episode is ginormous. Okay, now I will increment save again just in case. Another trick, instead of just saving, you can always just duplicate your model and then hide it. Because I've so far just, these are all the pieces, some of these are extra. You can create another like backup collection and move your duplicate models if you feel that's more comfortable too. That's what I love about this type of folder structures. You can put all your finished pieces here, work in progress things, pieces you like you may use later, and you can do whatever you want. You don't have to follow how I'm doing things, but again, just for the tutorial. Okay, so pieces that I want to get rid of. I'm actually going to go back to this mode because we don't need it anymore. I'm just going to delete. And again, because I'm ultra lazy and it's efficient, probably know what I'm going to do by now, and if you don't, it's okay. I'm just going to mirror, because I do not want to have to do double the work, especially when it gets to more annoying pieces like this. Actually, I think I should, before I mirror, oh dang it, I always close the window. I'm trying to, because I'm not used to having to put everything on my screen like this. But I guess it's good for you to know how to find things again. Okay. I'm going to just apply that quickly. There, it's not mirrored anymore. Because all these were in the center, it auto merges, but what I needed to do is I want to extrude to here first. Just quickly merging. So now we just got to fill the holes here, which I may not even actually need to mirror if it's super complicated. And the reason why we're not seeing it is because it's on this side. Again, to get it, if it's facing the wrong way that you don't like, mesh normals, recalculate inside or outside. In this case, we want it inside. Again, gonna fill hole. Hopefully this actually created the geometry the way I wanted it. Find out real soon. Just want to get rid of this freaking trash. Perfect. I just dissolve the edges. Not delete, dissolve, because then it keeps the face. Perfect. Actually, I didn't need to do that. I forgot. I'm dumb. But that's, I showed you how to connect it. Whatever. It wasn't necessary. This is where I'm going to now do it. There we go. Jeez. I want to make sure I'm selecting this side. Okay. Actually, face. Ah, crap. Didn't have X-ray mode on. There we go. Now we just have one side. Oh shoot, I keep closing the properties, but you see this little target thing that creates, you hold shift and drag. Oops, I accidentally duplicated it. Properties. I can't remember how I collapse now. It's Control A. Oh, let me look up quickly how I collapse. I forget. I don't usually need to do this type of thing. Okay, I was just doing it wrong. I had to right click, join areas, and then you choose. I want to join to there. Okay, what I wanted to do, get rid of this. There. Come on. There we go. Shift click. I think I just dragged and I didn't do it, but I like shift click things and I get the window. Oops. Okay, jeez. I'm gonna do all that unorthodox stuff. Messes me up in my normal modeling mode, so I'm not used to doing that. Okay, now I mirrored. As I was saying, just going to zoom this in like that. So we kind of have that indent. Deleting this face. Moving it down like to there is good enough. Extruding again. Whoops, yeah, deleting the face. And we will do the rest of that once we apply the mirror. Okay. Just moving that in so I can get to the stuff. Okay, and we don't need these bottom pieces, you'll never see them. Unnecessary, because this is only one side. We're just merging these in together. Just to make sure. Got them all selected. Just using X-ray mode. Remove double vertices, 14, perfect. Now we're just gonna merge. The reason why we're dragging these to here, because if we do it the other way, those will move and we don't want that. Again, I'm just extruding. And so I can select the vertices, I'm just squeezing this in a bit. Go to vertice mode, merge. Again, I'm dragging from here to here because I don't want this to be disrupted. Maybe you want to make a shape like that, but anyways. And we can, if we want, you know, we can create like a triangle shape back here if we wanted, like something like this. Gonna dissolve these. This may or may not work. No. When we delete that geometry, that goes bad. So maybe do this. Make a line. Connect it to here. Make a line. Connect it to there. Get rid of this crap. Oh, I was like, why does it look weird? X-ray mode. We've got something like that or whatever. That looks kind of more like a stock car, but you get the idea. You can extend it or do whatever if you're trying to make a true thing. Whoa! Just to make sure that this is not clipping one last time. Good old sake. Turn the body, bottom, engine, shell. Got all that. Go into material mode. There we go. We have a little bit. And then we got just these two. Look at that. We've got a pretty competent shell for a stock car. We've now done a exterior. Let me turn on the window. Make sure this is the right one. Yes. I'm just gonna rename this Windows. Again, you can have different type of things, so same concept, but yeah, we have the windows, and then we have the outer body shell, which covers everything here. We have that. We have the interior, the inner shell, and the bottom. Now there's one last thing, maybe we'll do it, we'll blow out the hood. It's really simple though. So again, I'm just gonna make a duplicate of the body so I don't screw this up. And I'm going to hide everything else again, except for this piece. So I'm thinking the hood will be within this region. So I'm just hitting Control E. Actually, do this, I should. Make sure I'm not. Oh. Just making sure it's flat 100%. Okay. There, we've got a hood already. Again, you could also use a make line tool and trace if you want, but again, we're being ultra basic. So I'm just duplicating the hood. And then I'm separating. Oh wait, let me do this. Okay. You can see just by extruding how much extra geometry happens too. That's why poly counts go way up. All right, I'm gonna duplicate without moving it, separate. And turn that off. Gonna now remove this. I think I can separate the faces without having to do it this way, but I like to duplicate just so I can confirm that it looks okay. Delete faces. Okay, that's the right piece. So it's now centered. So the inner shell also needs to have that type of hole punched in. And what we're going to actually do is we're just going to cheat, as always. So I'm going to take the shell, because it just has a bottom right there. Duplicating back up. Turn this off. I should actually rename this hood now. I'm gonna name it hood top. Again, just going to the properties, hood top. Turning it off. Going back to the shell. And we want to delete all this crap. Okay. I actually should have done this, but I guess it's good. Again, for tutorial sake. I'm going to combine these for a second. Even though I joined them, the vertices are still on top of each other, so I'm just going to select the whole thing. And you can see remove 28 vertices. That's all the vertices that are around here. It's just much easier if I do it like this. Just selecting the entire region and the hood. Just using Control Select to go quick. Okay. I'm gonna Shift D to duplicate, move up. This time I'm gonna do this. Separate. This one I'm just gonna put the origin, so I'm not selected on the model. So it's easier to click it. Okay, we'll come back to the car here. Just had to rename it. All right. Again, this is facing the wrong way now because it's the bottom of the hood, so normals, calculate inside. There we go. This is probably something I probably should have done when I was making the shell. I should have probably done the hood first, but you know, it's whatever. Tutorial is tutorial. I'm just getting it close enough. So there we have that. I'm going to join. Selecting all again. This may not work because the range of the vertices, yeah, 0. So merge distance here. I have it set to 0.0001. We're just going to move it up by 1. Maybe that'll be enough. Removed 8 vertices. Removed 28 vertices, and that should be all of them. I'm just going back to my normal value. I like to have it very far apart so I'm not merging tons of stuff. Oh wait, because it didn't actually merge those. Everything else looks okay. I might have accidentally had some double vertices there. Oh well. Don't want to move that one. So I'm just gonna do it manually just using the merge tool here. Again, I probably should have blown out the hood when I duplicated the shell first, but oh well. And because this is the interior, it's not nearly as important. You're never really going to see this close inside the shell, but it's still good to just have this detail in case. Almost done already. Probably should have just done it this way. Right. Now, let's see, we're going to, yeah, I just hit select, so whoops. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's not a loose part, duh. Only does that separation when it's a loose part like this. I'm just gonna get rid of the extra piece that I don't need. I think I can also split by edges, but whatever. Just gonna reset the origin on this. Origin to geometry. What did I do? Oh, yeah. Forgot to actually separate it. Now it's a loose part. This tutorial's so long, I'm starting to forget things. Trying to wrap it up best I can here. We're almost done with this episode. It's a long one, but you can tell I'm getting done pretty quick. So what we do later is when the car gets damaged, you would connect this piece to the top of the hood, so when it gets all messed up and crinkled, you will see the bottom part too. Because if you don't, then you'll see through it. That's why you always need a top and a bottom. Oh wait, I need to go back. I'm just naming it hood bottom. That's all I'm doing there. And renaming the shell, because when you group, it'll rename the model, because obviously it's putting two together. I'm just making sure I know what I'm looking at. In between episodes, I'll do some cleanup of the file too, just I'll go over what I did just so you can see, but okay. I need to find the, oh yeah, I haven't extracted it yet. I'm actually going to see if I can find the option to separate. Oh no. So I select that. I want to say it's an edge. Might actually be in mesh. Separate. That might have done it. Possibly. No. Actually, let's see if I can separate. By selection. Okay, I think that did it. Yeah, okay. So you can also separate by selection like that. I don't do it very often because I like to. Sometimes I want to duplicate from the piece and reuse it again, but this is how you do that. So there you go. So now that's how I probably should have done the when I did the shell, what I should have done is I should have knocked out the hood first. I'm trying to just do this tutorial on the fly so I don't remember all my best practices, but when you do it, you can make your car and then shape out your hood and then cut it out, and then you can invert your inner shell body, and then you'll have your hood top and bottom. Again, I need to rename this. Okay, so now we are finished with this tutorial, but to wrap it up, we started with the body. Let me turn on our fake wheels, which that'll be, whoa, those. So we started with a, I can't find it, our like weird cube thing at the beginning of this, and then we shaped it out to here, where we then cut out all the pieces, which we then made the bottom. Then we also had the shell, which covers all that. And then have the interior, which protects from the engine to just the inside. Then we have the engine, which for us is just a brick. And then last but not least, with the top and bottom pieces, we have the hood bottom, which you won't see unless you're down here, so you can see now it's protecting that from being seen through if the car flips or takes damage. And then the hood top. And to finalize that, you got the windows, which I didn't duplicate to the other side yet. You'll see why in a future tutorial, because it's transparent. I do it a little differently, but that's basically how we do that. Now, of course, because this is a simple car, you'd probably have things like a extrusion in here, and then you could shape the inner shell to also match that, which if we want to just do before we finish this. I guess that's one thing I didn't do, but usually the windows here. Ah, come on. You know, if you did something like this, of course the inner shell will be kind of clipping or whatnot, but I'll do little things like this probably in between for the next episode, but you get the idea of other things you can do to detail it, but for the purpose of this, that's good enough. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it made sense and you kind of saw the inner workings, how this can be done. So in the next episode, I will start it off right off the bat with a little bit more detail, slightly more. I'll put like a spoiler on here and flesh out the wheels slightly more. I'll show what I did and then maybe do some more window inner shell stuff. Maybe I'll even add like a fake roll cage, but I'll do just a bit more on it so it's a bit more detailed. And then we'll kick it right off with how to unwrap and then some basic texture practices and stuff. And depending how long that takes, I will then go to preparing the model to get it imported into 3ds Max. And then hopefully by the next episode, I will finally be able to show you probably the part you've been waiting for, is the actual creation of the mod, you know, setting it up in 3ds Max, and the next episode after that should be scripting then from then on and then on. So until next time, I will see you guys later. Let me know if this was useful or not. Hopefully it was. So until then, see you later.